Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Life Her Podcast. We are excited to introduce you to an inspiring guest who has reshaped everything got to do with the real estate industry, paving the way for the next generation of leaders. LaToya has a dynamic mortgage broker. She is a dynamic mortgage broker and seasoned real estate professional and rising social media influencer with over a decade of experience. As a broker and an owner, she has done so many thriving brokerage across Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware. Hey, Toya, how are you?
Hi, lovely. Thank you for having me. I'm great, excited.
I know. So we're going to start to the beginning. So,
Yes.
what was your childhood life like?
Um, I was a hustler,
Ooh,
right? So when you introduce me to money and I get to see what I can do with it, sis had jobs since she was 12. Um, ultimately, whether it was making jewelry, I was doing people's nails and toes. I had a water ice stand on the side of my mom's house. I worked at the library. I worked at the supermarket. I was running the front end of the supermarket after school. Like it was nonstop. It
wow,
was
that's
nonstop. And I think
amazing.
that a lot of that helped craft or shape, I guess, who I am now, right? Just in the sense of not giving up, like it's just figuring it out.
Wow. So, with your journey from real estate agent to brokerage of owner, and it's very inspiring, by the way.
Thank you.
Can you take us back to the beginning? What first sparked you interest in real estate, and how did you know you wanted to create such an amazing real estate company?
Sure. I had a family member who lost their house to a foreclosure years ago, and I didn't
Wow.
know nothing about it. And I guess when we were younger, I mean, you probably think the same thing. You knew your mom paid the bills, or your parents paid the bills, or your family paid the bills, but we didn't know what a mortgage was or whatever. So when the time came and trying to help this family member out, it was just like, what is this? What happens now? What do you mean that we got days? And things like that. So that was a little bit of the passion in the beginning of how do I not allow people to get into this room again, right? Like, how do we stay away from this and do better? But at the same time, I started off as an investor with a group of friends. And as an investor, as a group of friends, we ultimately put our money together to try to buy properties. And realtors who did not look like us did not allow us in the room. We went to go see properties that were already under contract. They did not advise us. There was none of that. And ultimately, I became a realtor for myself and for my
Mm.
investor friends and family. And it was just like, I'll just get us in the door. Like that was all that was about. It was nothing of I want to lead people. I want to be an agent. It was none of that. It was just simply I'm tired of being told no. Let me just figure it out. And you're talking about 2013. So over 10 years ago. And then ultimately, as I'm just going through the journey, people are just like, well, what are you doing? Well, how do you get these properties? We were flipping properties back then and really wasn't thinking bigger about it. And ultimately, everybody was like, well, can you help me? Right. So that's how
Mhm.
that transformed into that. And then as the time goes on, now you have people that are like, well, wait a minute, you're successful. You teach me how to get to where you are. And then that's how the team became. And then the team
Wow.
was here, and then the team kind of said, well, why are we paying a broker and paying you when you're like our broker? So you need to become the broker. And I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. You know, Sis was real comfortable. Sis did not need the elevation. She thought about it, but she wasn't looking for it. And they were the ones that pushed me into the broker owner perspective. And I love it
Mm.
here. I'll just say that. So I say thank you to my old team and some of them that are still here for pushing me into greatness. And sometimes people got to see stuff in you that you may not see in you. And then you go ahead and move forward.
Man, that is super dope. I really love that. For real, because a lot of times, with us growing up, we don't see too many doctors, lawyers, and
Hmm.
things of that nature. We
Hmm.
we but when we do see it, we be like questioning like, hmm?
how'd you get there?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why you? Right? Or we're like the needle in the haystack, but there's not a lot of us. And back then, when I became a realtor, I could count on my hand how many black realtors I knew in the city of Philadelphia. Right?
Wow.
That was just it. Now there's hundreds of us, which is amazing. Like it's heartbreaking just to see how we've transformed. But back then it was none of that. It wasn't, you didn't
Mm,
hear about it, or if you knew, it was kind of like, all right, do I trust this person? Da, 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 da,
yeah.
whatever. But now you're seeing our faces, we're rocking it, we're doing what we have to do, and I'm loving. And I don't see people as competition. I look at them as colleagues and opportunities to grow and to do better. So I'm grateful for everybody that's now stepped into the industry.
That is amazing. So you've built a brokerage and operates across the 3 states. What challenges did you face while scaling your business, and what kept
Mhm.
you motivated during those challenges?
One of the biggest challenges was for people of other cultures, of other sexes, to accept me, right? The real estate industry for years has been a white male dominated field. Let's just call a spade a spade. To see people like us, for me to be confident in these rooms, to know what I'm talking about in these rooms, and to walk into the room and my presence is there, you don't have to physically hear from me, it stood for something. Some people welcomed me, some people didn't. And at the end of the day, it never changed who I was. It never changed anything. And I continue to lead with confidence. It was funny to me that during some of those transactions, they gave me a hard time. And then afterwards, it was like, okay, you come work with me. Once you saw the final production of what I have to bring, and it was just like, absolutely not. You showed me your true colors. Why would I, why would I indulge?
Woo. So what you saying that
Hmm.
absolutely not. So sometimes you got people that still work with people that have showed them who they are.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then they be like, no, you gotta put your emotional intelligence to the
Hmm.
side. And if you want to get further, you have to do that. How do you
You have to
feel
do it.
about that?
It was hard. It wasn't easy. I've had instances where I pulled up the closing in my car, and I've had some of those individuals look at my card and look back at me. They look at the car again. Yes, I did it legally and legit, and not
Mhm.
nothing that's would discriminate against my character. Um, and it still goes on to today. I mean, it's not as frequent as it used to be because they're seeing more of us in the industry, and we know what we're doing. But um, it's definitely difficult. I've definitely had some moments where I had to step back and just say, should I be here? And it was like, of course, girl, let's go. You continue to
Mhm.
move, and your clients give you that push too, because they're excited to see you elevating in that field or in that industry, and they're starting to spread the word, which is another blessing for me that wasn't really a target, I guess, or a challenge, is that I really haven't had to advertise, right? Like my
Right.
sphere of influence, my clients, the referrals are just kept on going. I remember I met with one CPA one year, and he was like, what's your marketing budget? And I was like, I don't really have one.
Man.
I ain't never had to do that, like, so I think that was a challenge for me too. Some of the other challenges was figuring out how to really build your business and how to grow it, right, and scale it. I think that was a challenge for me because a lot of us think we're doing business when we first start to open a business, but then when
Yes.
you start to really know the ins and outs of how to scale your business and how that needs to look on paper, not just you on social media saying you got a business, that was a totally different eye opener for me. But I'm grateful for overcoming that too.
Mhm. And that's so important because even though we have so many people starting a business and they're doing amazing,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's like the inside of that business,
That you
you
have no
know.
idea. There's 10 more steps you
Yes.
got to do, sis.
Man, plenty more. Plenty
That they
more.
don't talk to us about, right? That's not highly advertised. And I'm talking about going to the bank and just getting money or loans or whatever just off of your business. Not you being a personal guarantor, not another no collateral, like making yourself look healthy on paper like that. And I could contribute a lot of those positives or those blessings from, I call them my big sisters in business, right? They're
Mhm.
all older than me, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but I am their little sister and they continuously feed into me. None of us are in the same industry, but it's just the business acumen that you would want from somebody that you would trust that looks like you.
Yes. So you focus hands-on on property education, critical thinking exercises for your team. What inspired you to develop this mentorship approach, and how has it impacted your realtor success?
Sure. So when I started out, I didn't really have a mentor that was hands-on with me, right? Like I had some people that I could call and kind of say, "Can you help me get through this situation?" But I didn't have anybody walk with me through properties, right? Knowing how to talk to my clients, no, all of those types of things. In our industry, we're considered 1099s, right? When you
Right.
join a brokerage, you're there to learn on your own, figure it out on your own, complete your documents on your own. That's a whole liability. That's a whole lawsuit waiting to happen. And that's not the norm to take your agents by the hand and say, "Come shadow me for the day. Come to this home inspection with me. Come learn about this property with me." So if you're going outside and you're representing me and I am your broker, I want you to be outside representing me in the best capacity. That's my mindset. That's not every broker's mindset. A lot of brokers in the industry still have the 1990 mindset of figure it out. That's not my problem. But if you don't help your agents grow, how are you going to grow as a business? Like they are the ones generating the business to bring it back in here too. So, um, twice a year, at least twice a year, sometimes it's more, I take my agents out on what's called a field trip. So my
Mm.
field trips, they have no idea what they're doing. I bring them out and I say, "You're going to meet me at this address." They don't get the address until the morning of. I may give them the
Oh.
county, but you don't know where you're going. And I specifically do that because I want them to be surprised when they get there. But it's always a property that has a different attribute than something that you're used to dealing with, right? So a lot of the agents in the city of Philadelphia are accustomed to a certain transaction. Every property is almost cookie cutter, right? You got
Mhm.
this and this to do before closing. However, when you start to get in the county or other suburban states and stuff like that, it's a totally
Uh-huh.
different monkey. And I want you to get in front of these things and know what you're looking at, know how they operate, and feel secure in it so that when you're out with your clients, they can say, just look at you. You don't have to call me on the slide and say, "Wait, did I look at this right? Can I send you a picture?" Mm-mm.
Mm.
I want you to feel confident. So they love it. Once they get there, they're mad at me. I'll take it. Once they get there, they're like, "What are we doing?" So they get group activities when they're there, and I break them up, and they have a list of questions that they have to figure out throughout the property. I reward them with gift cards, stuff like that, to kind of make them feel good about themselves, but it's also helping them build their business and their confidence.
Wow. That is amazing, and it's very inspiring because it shows like the type of person you are. A lot of times when people are over their companies and doing amazing things, they sometimes get so sidetracked and busy and not really help their team,
Oh yeah,
and a lot of times people don't realize you helping the team makes your business
helps
better.
you.
You helping the team, it may
Hmm.
want somebody in your team to venture off and do something. However, it's always collaboration when it comes to that. It's so
Correct.
many things that come with it, and I really appreciate you for being you, for
I
even just
thank you.
helping your team to grow, and that's huge.
Hmm. Hmm. I look at it as like how people elevate and they forget to reach back, right? That's my
Yeah.
reach back. You know,
Yeah.
and so many of them that I have in my brokerage may have came from other brokerages that felt lost. Like I ain't learned nothing. I didn't close on nothing for 2 years. Like this is their stories. Like I have no clue of what I'm doing, and I'm putting out expenses to be a realtor, but I'm lost. Like I feel like a number, and that's not our vibe at all when it comes to Fowler and Co.
Yes, for sure. So, with the real estate, do you feel like it's going to take a huge shift this year with so much what that's going on with the economy and with Trump coming in?
So legally, we're not allowed to answer this question. I'll put that
Okay,
out there.
got you.
However, I will say I definitely feel like some type of shift will go on. Every year brings a different result. It always shifts some things, but the economy drives the real estate industry. So if the economy is booming, then the real estate industry is booming. If some things are changing and they're shifting, then we feel the shift immediately afterwards. So if you are thinking about getting into something or making a transaction into 2025, figure out what's best for you and pay attention to economics. And then you'll see where we'll end up at the end of 2025.
Yes. So, due to experience of myself, right?
Mhm.
Um, when my mom, she passed away back in
Sorry to hear that.
2019. Thank you. So, um, I think it's important. It may not be you guys' angle as far as a realtor. However, it's very important for people to get educated when it comes to when your family member passed and the things that you may encounter when they still have a mortgage or if they have a house paid for, things of that nature, because it's a part of building wealth when
Mm-hmm.
someone pass away and you got all of these responsibilities when it comes to you having real estate from your parents, grandparents, or whatever. And I can say personally, I've learned a lot when my mom passed when it comes to having a mortgage and even not having a mortgage on another home as well. Are there ways or any type of advice do you have for individuals that may come into a situation like that when they inherit real estate when someone passes away?
Sure. The first piece of advice is to consult with a real estate professional. That's part one. Part two, you're going to need an estate attorney. Those two individuals will work hand in hand to kind of figure out what's best, right? And I say what's best is because every situation is different. So it depends on whether the person had a reverse mortgage, which is a lot of what the seniors do, right? Oh, I need quick cash right now. I don't care about my house later on. But sometimes they give the heirs an option. Like I had a family member that passed that had a reverse mortgage, and we were considering keeping it, but the reverse mortgage company gave us a certain time frame to give them what they paid him up front in order to keep it. So figuring out all of those things. The other part to it too is kind of figuring out if it is best for you to keep it, right? So some people just don't want the responsibility, of being a property owner. And that's perfectly fine too. So that's where your real estate professional comes into play because they can help you sell it and they'll help you figure out what the value is compared to what's owed on it and kind of going from there. The estate attorney comes into play because you'll need certain documents regarding the person's death in order to sell it. So we work hand in hand with those types of transactions. Um, a lot of people want to sell it, right? My suggestion is to always try to figure out if you can keep it in any way possible. Be creative about it. Even if you're talking to one professional is not really what you want to hear, you're not understanding or not breaking it down for you. Take the time to get four people's perspectives too, just to kind of see what the best gist is. And my family, they know it's not an option. It's not an option. We're gonna figure out how to keep it. Toya will figure it out, and we're gonna make it work. One, I look at it because there's too many people that are renting. That may be in the family that need somewhere to stay. That's part one, and then part two of it is people don't understand the generational wealth that comes from real estate. Right? I love the game of Monopoly. I'm great at it. I'm a negotiator, and you're gonna give me my money when you hit it on boardwalk, right? And at the end of the day, I have some clients that are, I would say, mid 60s, and they're now starting to liquidate a lot of their real estate that they've had over the years. And I'm talking about over 45 years. Have put their kids in college, have bought their kids cars off of it, have did refinancing 10 times, and then they're like, okay, I'm done. It's free
Mhm.
because the tenants were paying those mortgages over the years. So they just kept funneling money over and over again. And now that they're older, they're like, all right, let's go live. Let's go be great. So is it worth it to be able to do it if you can down the line? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So, what advice do you have for someone that has purchased a home and they got plenty of times to live? What things should they put in place so
hmm
that their families won't have to go through so much when it comes to them with their estate?
Sure. One is to get an irrevocable trust. That will be my first suggestion. Overall, I can't give legal advice when it comes to attorneys and trusts and stuff like that, but I can just give you a couple of tips. So one is that typically it allows for whoever's going to inherit it not to kind of pay transfer taxes if they're going to take ownership of it. It could stay in there and still be able to recoup the great funds of it and things like that. Part two of that too is to get a will and figure out who you want to have the property, right? Because if you don't have that, Typically, when people pass away, an estate has to be raised. The estate is raised, and then the heirs kind of figure out, and the executor or the administrator will figure out who's next to be able to get what. People starting to get in arguments. People stop talking to one another. It becomes very, very nasty.
Right.
The state and the court typically goes in order of who's closest relationship to that person. Doesn't matter how the relationship was, and people forget about that. The next part is to start to talk to your family about what you want done, right? Just so that people start to get in place. And if you are that person, what my grandmother did and a couple other people that passed away was they started to eyeball those responsible people, right? Who's responsible in the family that I think that would manage it, keep it up to par, those types of things. Like who those people
Yeah.
are in our families, right? Whether we like it or not. And kind of get those people in just like even if you wanted to add that person to the deed for $1, that's still an option too. So therefore, uh, when that person passes, they depending on how you rewrite the deed or edit the deed, you may not have to pay transfer taxes once that person passes. So you're just getting the property and taking over whatever debts or utilities are going to come with it and maintenance, if that's what it's called. But there's a whole lot of opportunities, but the goal is to get started. Don't wait until the last minute, and then try to keep your property up to par. Right, like that's
Right.
that's that's the other thing. A lot of people like to defer repairs. Get those repairs done when you can. If you can't afford them, there's a lot of programs out here right now that are willing to help you out um, to be able to repair it and keep it up to par. Even if it's a Lowe's credit card, so be it. Do something. They even have contractors that you can get through that and still pay it off with a credit card to be able to keep it up to par. Because when you're passing it off, people don't want a big responsibility, right? If I got to
Yeah.
take it on and become a homeowner and I never was one, I don't want to do that and got to fix the roof and do this and do that. So try to do as much as you can without overwhelming yourself.
Yes. So, what
So,
advice do you have for people who want to start building wealth through real estate but don't know where to begin?
so there's a lot of different ways to invest in real estate. The sad part is that Instagram has become its best teacher. And you have some people that prefer to hear social media over actual professionals. I will say this, the movers and shakers in the industry are not revealing so much on social media. Okay? Read
Fact.
between the lines. Okay, next part. So after that, figure out how you want to get into it. So there's something called REITs where you could invest in a real estate stock, like your large malls and things like that. There are stock owners that own a portion of that and receive a dividend from it. So if you're not up to, I don't have the 10,000 to put up. If I'm not really a property owner type of person, I just want to try it out. A REIT may be something that you would want to look into. Another option could be crowdfunding. So how I started in the beginning, there was 8 of us. We didn't have 25,000, but each one of us had 2 to 4,000 apiece. We put it together and we did crowdfunding to be able to own a property until we could get enough by individually to do what you wanted to do, which ultimately happened in 3 years. And everybody start from somewhere. That's it.
Yeah.
Start to figure out who your guru is or who your coach is all the way around. Take classes. Take classes, take classes. There's so many things. Home Depot, the first Saturday of the month has free home repair classes that you can go to. Do it.
Yeah.
You need to get accustomed to it. They are not easy things to do. They can be overwhelming really quickly. So take your time with it and it's okay. If you
Yes.
have I would say also start to figure out who your vendors are, your contractors. Contractors are hard to come by, good ones, right?
Yes. Lord
So if you
Jesus.
get a plumber, have 5 plumbers because you might need a backup. You might need to, compare some prices and things like that. There's a whole Rubik's Cube to this. We make it look easy, but it's a lot behind the scenes to deal with.
Yeah. A whole lot. So, real estate is often seen as key to building generational wealth. What
Mhm.
steps can families take to start investing in property?
Um, Everyone is stating that land is hard to come by, which is true. Um, the more south you go, the more land you'll find for a cheaper cost. But start to talk to that real estate professional in types of what types of land you want to buy, because every piece of land is not created equal. Some are just farmland, some land is buildable. So you need to figure out which part is for you. Um, I would also say figure out, like you said, in the family of who is really interested and who wants to do it.
Right.
Who's going to be responsible? Who can you trust with the bank account and is not going to be able to touch it and rob Peter to pay Paul and things like that? To also figure out what your plan is. So create a 5-year plan of what you want the generational wealth to look like. Do we want to be able to make 500 a month in the next 4 months, or is it 2,000? And kind of look at those different properties to figure out which ones are going to give you the return on investment that you're looking for. On our website, which is fowlerandco.org, I have what's called a cap rate on there. It's a cap calculator. So the cap calculator helps investors determine what their return on investment is going to be. That's a huge feature that people need to know before you go put in an offer. Yes, the property has tenants. Yes, the tenants are paying, but after all of the expenses, what are you making? So to
Mm,
me, if I'm not making at least $500 to $700 a month net per unit, it doesn't make sense for me. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like, are
yeah.
you doing all this hustle and bustle for $200? So I
Mm,
help my investors figure that part out before we move forward.
wow. I never knew that.
I told you it's a lot to it.
Girl, it is. It's so
It's a
much.
lot. It's a lot. But it's doable too. That's why I said the right coach comes into play, and then you'll be able to figure out how to move and shake it throughout it.
Girl, you ain't lying. Well, what are some overlooked ways people can leverage real estate in building financial freedom?
That's a great question. Multi-units are always my suggestion. They're hard to come by because everybody's preaching it. But if you
Yeah.
can find one that makes sense, I say do it, right? For one reason. So one, if like we said, you may have let's just say you have a triplex. So a triplex is 3 apartments in one building, right?
Right.
2 units I can always rent out. One I may say I'll do as an Airbnb, or I'll have it as something that a family member need to stay, or if I'm traveling, I need to stay there or whatever. Or whoever goes there is on a month to month. So it could be your just in case one. But the goal is for at least half of the units to take care of all of the expenses so that the other half are bringing in you the income. And it's also better because if one person's late on their rent and the other two are not, at least you have some part that's promised over the one that's there, compared to if you just have a single family house and if that tenant is late, that's the only income that you're
Right.
relying on overall.
Right.
Some of the downsides about it, uh, people living in the same unit together, right? You're talking about noise, smell, stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
you're dealing with the public. It just is what it is. I've gotten lucky over the years and kind of had some great tenants, and then I've had some sour patches. But overall, your interview process makes a difference too.
Mm. Wow.
If
So how can people with student loans and limited credit still achieve ownership?
That's a great question. Student loans is one part. Let's hit credit first. Um, the credit is going to open the door for so many things for you, right? So people preach that cash is king. Totally not
Yeah.
true. Credit is king. And as we talked about your Lowe's and Home Depot cards, you still need the credit to be able to get those things to have a leverage, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say you bought the property 10 years ago and now you have it and you're in a bind. Okay, what you could do is called a refinance or get a home equity line of credit on it to pull some money out. But you can't do that if your credit isn't together. So it's
Mm.
kind of like you need to get that in place. And in place could be a 620, it could be a 660. You don't have to have an 800. There's a lot of resources out there for mid-range, but you got to bring it to something because it opens the door for so many different things. The other part, which was, what was the other part you talked about?
The college student loans.
The college student loans. So the student loans, depending on the lender, will calculate them differently, right? So there's
Mm.
some student loans that are calculated as if you are not on a payment plan and they are deferred, the lender may look at your invisible payment as 1% of what you owe as your monthly payment. If you're on an income-based repayment plan and it's just $50 a month, then that is what you would have to pay back. That's how they're going to factor in your debt. So lenders look at what's called your debt to income ratio. It's how much you're paying in debt on a monthly basis on your credit report compared to what you're bringing in gross monthly. So that's how they're trying to figure out what you can afford. Um, there's no real way of chopping it down. Student loan debt is student loan debt, but your goal is just try to get on a cheaper payment plan if that's what you can do to be able to qualify. That
Yeah.
that's just it. And try to hurry up before Biden gets out to get them forgiven.
You ain't lying. Cause I got
Listen,
I got friends that's like renting and they want a home, but it's like they was like, we got student loans, they be adding. I
And
was like,
listen, reevaluate it. Ask them,
yes.
listen, this is my situation. This is the stuff I have on me. See if they can reevaluate and recalculate their payment and see if that's an option. Another one, like we said, is to do the crowdfunding. So maybe it's two people that need to come together to be able to do it, and it's just not a journey for yourself.
That's true. That is really true.
It's
What are
doable.
what are some of the common misconceptions about real estate industry that you wish more people understood?
We don't just open doors and just show you the living room. It's so much more behind the scenes. When
Yeah.
you're paying your realtor or your real estate professional, you're paying for our expertise, our negotiation skills, and figuring out what the next steps are, right? We make it look easy, but if you get into a bind, you need to know legally your next steps to get you to the next step. I'll say that.
Mm.
Another part is that mm, I would say that it's not obtainable. Um, is definitely a goal that a lot of people have, and some people feel like it's too far out of reach, and it's not. There are a lot of different creative loans and things like that and programs out there for you to figure it out. So a lot of them too, even if you're going to like a first time home buyer seminar, they have counselors that will give you steps to take to get to your goals. Now, whether your goals may take you 6 months or a year, it depends on how serious you are to chop down your debt or do whatever you have to do to get yourself in predicament. I've had a to-do list. So when clients come to me and they get deterred because the lender told them no, I've been told no before. That's
Mm.
okay. We're all human. I want a beach house. They still gave me a to-do list to get to my beach house. Like I'm a real estate professional and I still get questions as well. So I also don't want them to think that every lender is against them. Yes, every lender is not for everybody, but there are lenders literally there to really help you out and they really want to help you get to the closing table and to obtain what you need to. Stop thinking that the home inspection is for your realtor. You need to be there. It is
Yeah.
not for us to be there. You need to be there to learn about your own property. Stop thinking that you can buy everything for $1. Or I came to closing with $1. Mm-mm.
Hmm.
No, get that out your mind. So yes, it's advertised, but it is not always likely.
Yeah. Make it seem like it's so simple,
Mm-mm.
It's more of like selling people a fantasy.
Yes,
When it's so
it's
much more
clickbait.
to it. Yeah. I feel like it's not fair, for a
Hmm.
lot of people because it gives them so many high expectations. And
Hmm.
then the disappointment comes appear when they approach someone and they be like, wait, what? Huh?
And a lot of people can't deal with the defeat. That's
Yeah.
real. That's real. I had one young lady 6 months ago. I contacted her. I have some people I check up on here and there. She said, "I can't believe you text me just to check in on me. Like I'm
Oh,
nowhere near my goals." And I'm like, "Girl, yeah, it's okay. It's all right."
yeah.
But I say when you have those opportunities where you have lump sums coming in, do something better for it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
It's up
so
to you.
what should clients look for when
Hmm.
they're choosing a real estate agent or a
That's a
broker
great
to
question.
represent them?
You have every right to interview us. And I want people, that's another misconception. You have every right to interview us. Ask me about my expertise. Ask me about my work schedule. I ran into a colleague one day that only showed things on Saturdays and Sundays. That does not work for people that
Mm,
want to see it on Tuesday. There was another one that didn't have a car. There was another one that said I only did one zip code. So ask them, what
right.
are we going to be able to work together? What's your personality like? Will that personality work with you? Right? Are you going to be able to explain these things to me? Because I don't like just signing papers. Like I want you to sit down and really hold my hand through it. So be
Mm,
honest too with your realtor of what your expectations are of them too. Because a lot of us, when we start to get busy, we kind of lose a little bit of that personal touch, if that makes
you
sense.
do. You do.
And we don't mean it, right? We're just trying to get everybody to their goal. But if you say, "Wait a minute, I need you to slow down for me," it's like, "Okay, I got you."
Yes. So many people believe that buying a home is out of their reach financially. And, they end up deciding to rent or, for the rest of their life.
Right?
How do you educate clients, especially the underdeserved communities, about affordable home ownership options?
Sure. So I have I have a couple classes that I create throughout the year. I do free webinars
That's
virtually
nice.
where they're able to come. I did one last year just on new construction homes. If you want to build and this is what you want to do, let me teach you how to. One of my clients just closed, and I feel so excited for her because she was the first one to sign up, and now she's the first one to close out the class. But
Wow.
it's taking that step and just believing in yourself. Just get the education, even if it's not tomorrow. And a lot of us want immediate gratification, right? But that's not
Yeah.
realistic. So be honest with yourself of this may take some time. But no, I do a lot of my stuff virtually so that I can reach more people than anything.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of people from Atlanta, Texas join. Um, and we'll connect you with a colleague. So don't worry about the stages. Just join just to get the information.
Okay. So what's the biggest mistake you see in new real estate agents and brokers that make you, and look at it like questionable, and you like, how can other people avoid it so that they won't walk into that mistake?
Sure. A lot of new realtors are not familiar with their state's marketing requirements. So we have a
Mm,
lot of requirements that we have to follow. Um, get abreast of it. Read it. Take your time. Yes, it looks like mumbo jumbo, but take your time because it's not worth the fine. Um, New brokers are looking for quick cash. Take the time to nurture your agents, spend time with them, get to know them on a personal level too, figure out how you can help them elevate in the actual, and they'll elevate your brokerage for you. That's just how it works if you do it right. Um, but ultimately too, to not go out and then yes, for new realtors, yes, there's a form of feeling like you can make your audience feel like you know everything, right? I'm the expert. But be careful with
yeah,
that because we can also be sued because we are entrepreneurs, right? We're 1099, just call it the day. But you have to still be humble. Be
you
humble,
do.
still be open to education or advice for some of us seasoned people. We're not here to step on your toes, and there's enough clients to go around. Don't try to overshadow another realtor's people or sphere of influence because you feel like I have to gravitate to everybody. No. The people who are for you will come to you.
That's true. What's your number one tip for first time home buyers to prepare for their home buying process?
Stop thinking that your down payment is all the money that you need. Your down payment is not your closing costs. Your closing cost is like the bigger umbrella, right? Your down payment is a line item under the closing cost. There's still about 20 other line items. So when people say, "Oh, my down payment is just 3.5%," that's all I got to bring. Mm-mm, not true. So let's get away from that. The other part is to still have a cushion after closing. So some of our buyers too may say, I got enough for closing. I don't need nothing else. Well, life can happen, right? 6 months down the line, you could lose your job. A lot can happen. Still try to plan for that rainy day because
Mhm.
houses are always a project, whether you
Yeah.
like them or not. I think we all can be honest and say, I know about 3 projects that I need to do in my house right now.
Oh, girl, you cussing now.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying, right? But when it's no
Yes,
longer a landlord, it's now your project, correct? So
yes.
we want to take the time to really start to think about those things too. Um, the other part is to find a realtor that's for you. The social media realtor may not be your realtor, and it's okay. You may like the way that they show houses, but their personality and their business acumen may be something totally different, right?
Yeah,
And I think the final tip would be your house that you're buying may not be your forever home, but be open, right?
yeah.
Because we get hooked up on the houses on Zillow. It got to look like this. It got to have the Carrera tiles, which is
Yeah,
the white and gray tile that everybody has. It may not have that. You may install that next summer, but can you deal with the rest of the house? 98% of the rest of the house, is it still good for you?
yeah.
You know,
Especially when it comes to foundation and
the most important things. Okay, do you have a roof, sunshine? Yes,
girl,
those are the
heater,
more important things.
hot
Yes,
water
yes, yes,
tank,
yes. Your hot water heater work. Those things we can worry about paint later.
AC
Okay,
unit.
listen. You
Girl,
worried
I'm
about
talking
what
about
the
the
floor
most
look like. That's
expensive
something totally
stuff.
different. I
Yeah,
didn't hear you.
yeah, especially when it comes to I've noticed probably my biggest expense from the home that I got from my mom is the
Mhm.
newer breaker box.
Okay.
Girl,
Okay.
that is
It's
costly. And
expensive.
yeah, and even changing the plugs throughout the house,
Hmm.
you
It adds
know.
up.
Yes.
Well, here's another tip. Another tip is to get a home warranty if you are going to be a new owner. Even if you are a current owner, go get a home warranty on your house. So there's a couple different ones. There's a home warranty that covers the house, right? You can get that through First American Home Warranty. Then there's American Home Shield. There's a lot of different options that you can Google. You can get coverage for a year. They no longer want the year payment up front. You can now pay monthly. Monthly may be $80 a month if that's what you're going to do, right? When
Right.
something happens, you pay the deductible. So for to make a call or for the company to come out to figure out what needs to be done is $125, right? On
Hmm.
top of that, I have a client right now that needed a heater, right? And she called and said, "Toy, what do I do?" I said, "Call your home warranty company." She forgot she was paying for it. Said, "No, they ain't gonna cover it. They ain't gonna." I said, "They are gonna cover it. Let them come." So they came out. They replaced her motherboard. After the motherboard went, which was a week later, they came. She called back and said, "Hey, the heater's still not working. It's been a week later." They came and replaced her heater. Now, yes, the heater cost 15,000 to replace. She was responsible for 2,000. I'd rather pay 2,000 than
Yeah.
15,000. Okay, so the
Girl,
home
you're right.
warranty is there to save you. There's a different one that you can get through American Water Resources, and that's for your sewer and water. Those two things are not included in your home warranty or your homeowner's insurance. Your sewer drain goes from your property out to the street, usually about 60 feet. For $15 a month, sounds like it's going to cover something for me, right?
Yeah.
I've used it on my grandmother's properties, I've used it on my rental properties, and it helps. Even if you just have a blockage in the drain compared to being a whole excavation needed. So those things are not costly, they're inexpensive. Try
Yeah.
it, use it, do what you got to do. It'll save you in
Yeah.
the long run.
Well, thank you for educating me on that because I didn't know they had that. Because
Yes, ma'am.
in my mind, you just think homeowners insurance.
Mm-mm,
You really
mm-mm,
don't think
mm-mm.
broadly of other things, of specific things when it comes to
No.
having a
So your
home.
homeowner's insurance is kind of like your car insurance, right? When you make a claim,
Yeah.
they may increase your policy moving forward. Um, the warranties, no, that's what it's for. Now they may make you pay a deductible, which is the 125 for different category items, right? So like let's
Right.
just say if your stove goes and then your hot water heater goes, there's two different types of appliances, but it's still cheaper than paying to replace it on your own.
Yeah. Way cheaper.
Yep. So if you're purchasing, they will make the policy active, meaning as though you can make a claim the day of closing. If you already own the property, then they'll make you wait 30 days. But either way, it's still a plus.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. Honestly,
It's a huge saver.
it is. So how can clients make sure they're choosing the right mortgage option for their needs?
So that's a two-part question. The first part is it depends on what they qualify for with their
Okay.
mortgage. So some people may qualify for conventional versus FHA or vice versa. Um, if they qualify for multiple ones, then I would say look at the interest rates, look at your monthly payments, and kind of figure out what's the difference for you, and then what do you have to bring to closing. Those are three different categories that may make you feel a little bit different. And then always remember that after closing, you can always refinance, right? So we
Mhm.
purchased our house, it was through FHA, and we had what's called the mortgage insurance premium on there because we didn't put 20% down. As the years went on, we went back and refinanced it to a conventional mortgage.
Mm.
Payment changed, interest rate changed. You see what I'm saying? And then we
Yeah.
also knocked off 15 years of interest that we would be paying, and we're paying the house off quicker.
Wow. So even when you're paying on a house, um, I forgot what it's called when you pay. I think what is it like the equity that you pay on? It's something when you pay onto the mortgage or you pay into the interest.
So you're making a principal and interest payment.
Yes.
Okay.
So when someone make those payments when they go and pay their mortgage, should they say this is going towards the principal or should they
So
just
when you're
out?
making your payment is already going to be going towards your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? It's called
Right.
PITI. If you want to make an extra payment, let's just say you got an extra $100 a month. So if you make an extra $100 a month for 1 year, you're actually paying an extra mortgage payment for the year. So you're making 13 mortgage payments instead of 12. So if you're going to do that and you can afford to do it, put it towards the principal, not the interest. When you're
Okay.
paying for your mortgage, all of the money up front, the majority, if you look at that statement that they give you, more of your money is going towards the interest in the beginning, and then towards the latter years, you're paying the principal. So if you want to reverse it, you would add that amount towards it.
Now, should they automatically or do they automatically add property taxes to it, or it's optional?
9 times out of 10, your principal, your interest, your taxes, and your insurance are covered, right? And I'm going to tell you why. So if you have a mortgage and you're not putting 20% down, the lender wants to make sure that their asset is going to be protected. So their asset is the house. So if you default on the house and the house burns down, what happens to their asset if you don't have the insurance, right? So that's
Right.
why they're including the insurance and the taxes into your monthly payments. When you're making your monthly payments, you have what's called an escrow account, right? So your
Right.
escrow account, think about that as like an iCloud for our iPhone users. As you're making every payment, a portion of that payment goes back into the escrow to replenish it so that January 1st, your mortgage company is going to pay your taxes and your insurance for you because they want to make sure that their asset is going to be protected for the upcoming year. They're not going to wait for you. So the only time that you'll be able to make it without those things being included is when you pay off the mortgage, and you can pay your insurance and taxes whenever you choose to.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So even paying off your mortgage, I know a lot of times when you pay it off in full,
Mhm.
sometimes you may get a little money back.
You may have some extra money in your escrow, get a little checky check. Sometimes when our sellers close, I say in 30 days you might get a little check back from the mortgage company because there might be a little bit of money left over, and they're a little excited about their little check. So yes, you're right.
Yes.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
It is definitely worth it. So, what advice do you have for someone that's actually looking to become a realtor in 2025, and how should they present themselves on social media when they're
Sure.
trying to build content?
Part one is to find a mentor. Find a mentor that is really going to be able to coach you. Some mentors come with a fee, some of them may not. However, find a mentor because there's so much more to learn outside of your classes. Most classes today to become a realtor takes 3 months max to become a realtor, and a lot of it is not the information that you need to really succeed afterwards. So you're going to need that, and your mentor may be your broker, it may not be. You may go under a team that's under a brokerage, so figure out what works for you. If you're going to do social media, go back to what your state's requirements are for you to operate and do business on social media. How are you supposed to present yourself? What can you say and not say? And how do you need to market yourself? So there are certain logos and phone numbers that have to be listed because they're starting to give out fines like crazy. So it's not
Yeah,
worth it to get into the business with an extra bill that you shouldn't have.
you ain't lying. What's one piece of advice that you'll give a real estate agent that that's trying to, like, I mean, I know understand like they get fined and everything, but as far as being effective to help other
Sure.
people to purchase a home and different client up and coming clients.
Social media today is about algorithm, right? So whether it's really helpful information or not, the algorithm is going to kill the best person versus the person that just came outside. So for one, people like advice. It just is what it is. People like advice. They like people to teach them something. The second part is make something entertaining to grasp their attention, right? Not saying you got to roll out the suitcase of the car or whatever they're doing right now, but you can figure out something, and you got to stay up with the trends. It's hard. Like
It's hard.
listen, sis used to be a master at it. Now I'm like, I ain't getting on another platform. I'm not getting on threads. I'm not. It's a lot.
It could
But
become
figure out what your niche.
overwhelming.
For me, my audience is a mixture of millennials and all the way up to baby boomers, right? So some realtors are only on one platform. I have to be on both because my baby boomers and the ones in between, millennials, are on Facebook. That's their judge. And they ain't looking at it on Instagram. They don't get it. They don't want to get on it. It just is what it is. And if I don't post, they like, oh, I thought you wasn't working this week. What? You know, so I would say connect your pages so that if you post someone, it automatically goes to the other so that you can be seen on both platforms.
Yes. So in closing, what encouraging words do you have for just other realtors and just people overall that's dealing with the marketing shutdown as far as the slowness of it or it picking up or them not even having hope for anything?
Sure. Don't give up. There are seasons. There's sometimes where even us as great professionals are sitting twiddling our fingers trying to figure out where our next commission's coming from. And then there's some months where you like, wait a minute, I can't even catch my breath. I don't remember who I was supposed to call back. It's too many people calling. And go with the flow. But when you have your downtime, use that time to build your business. Whether you tighten it up on systems, whether you're going to educational classes, you're getting accreditations, you're contacting the people or following up with people that you didn't follow up with, figure out your niche. There's so many different avenues and ways to become that person, but do be genuine more than anything.
Right.
People need somebody that's trustworthy. You're helping them purchase one of the biggest assets of their life. Make sure that you seem credible. You know, like be honest more than
Yeah.
anything.
That's so important. Well, thank you so much, Toya. I really enjoyed our conversation. I did.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It's a lot to learn, but digest it. People just take it slow and it's okay.
Yes. So can you let people know how to contact you, follow you, and also look onto your website?
Sure. So my website is fowlerandco.org. So that's F as in Frank, OWLERANDCO.org. And guess what? Our handles on social media are the same thing. Fowler and Co Realty, and you can find us on Facebook and on Instagram.
Yes. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to Life Heard Podcast, where we educate you and enlighten you on a lot of things in life that are real and authentic. And have a great day.
Have a great day.
Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.